What if everything you thought you knew about Antarctica was well, just the tip of the iceberg? Seriously, why would 57 countries, major world powers, all agree to protect this barren, icy continent? Unless, there was something truly extraordinary, maybe even dangerous hidden down there. Welcome to the cool, weird, and possible.
Today, yeah, we're really diving deep into Antarctica. It's this continent just shrouded in mystery, right? Governed by these complex international agreements. And yes, it's absolutely fertile ground for some truly wild theories. So, our mission today is to sort of cut through the noise. We'll unpack the fascinating facts, look at some genuinely groundbreaking scientific discoveries. And then once we've got that clear picture, we'll examine some of the, let's say, imaginative ideas floating around about this frozen landmass. We're basically here to help you get well informed and fast. Okay, let's start with the foundation. The Antarctic Treaty. This is really key to understanding everything else. It was first signed way back in 1959, initially by 12 nations. You had the US, the Soviet Union, the UK, Argentina, Australia, Belgium, France, Japan, South Africa, New Zealand, Chile, and Norway. But today it's grown a lot. There are 57 parties now committed to its principles. And its core purpose, the main idea, is to dedicate Antarctica only to peaceful activity and scientific research. That means it specifically prohibits any military activity, no bases, no weapons testing, none of that. It essentially sets Antarctica up as this neutral zone, kind of like the Svalbard Treaty does for the Arctic.
Okay, hang on. So this huge frozen continent, mostly untouched, suddenly gets this major global protection package. This makes you wonder, doesn't it? Was it really all just about science? Or were there maybe other, less public motivations going on, especially right after World War II?
That's a great question, and you've really hit on a crucial historical moment there. The official reasons and the historical context, they point to a few key things driving the treaty. After World War II, interest in Antarctica definitely spiked. You had Operation High Jump, for instance. That was a huge U.S. military operation, the biggest Antarctic expedition ever at the time. And the U.S. was seriously thinking about claiming part of the continent. At the same time, Cold War tensions were really ramping up between the Soviets and the West. And then adding to that whole mix, you had several countries with existing competing territorial claims. Think the UK, Argentina, Chile. These claims had actually led to some incidents, some friction, and real fears of conflict over what they thought were untouched resources down there. So the treaty, it was actually a pretty clever diplomatic move. It let countries sort of freeze their claims, not give them up, but agree not to enforce them. And crucially, everyone agreed not to make any new claims. And that basic framework, it got even stronger later with something called the Protocol on Environmental Protection to the Antarctic Treaty. People usually call it the Madrid Protocol. This one's legally binding, and it explicitly designates the Antarctic environment as a natural preserve, like officially protected. It covers everything south of 60 degrees south latitude. And here's a big one. Article 7 specifically bans mining completely. But, and this is important, there's a clause, a provision that allows this ban to be reviewed in the year 2048.
Right, okay, so mining is banned for now. That's the key phrase, isn't it? But what happens if, climate change keeps melting the ice and suddenly these potentially huge mineral deposits are exposed? Or what if, say, global oil supplies start running seriously low? That 2048 review, could it just change everything, become this massive global flashpoint? What then?
That is a very real, very complex geopolitical question looming on the horizon. Absolutely. The growing pressure on global resources combined with potentially easier access to areas that used to be locked under ice. Yeah, that 2048 review could definitely be a pivotal moment for the continent and honestly for the whole world. But okay, well, all that political stuff was happening under the ice. Wow. Scientists were uncovering things that are just mind-bending. Forget the treaties for a second. Antarctica's real secrets are often way more astonishing than any political games. This is where the continent just blows your mind. Like, for instance, we now know there are hundreds of subglacial lakes down there, buried deep, some as much as 3 kilometers under the ice sheet. Lake Vostok is probably the most famous, discovered back in the 70s. Lake Willens is another. And they don't freeze solid because the sheer weight, the immense pressure from all that ice above keeps the water liquid. But here's the truly amazing part. Scientists have found life in these lakes, extremophiles. These incredible microbes living in total darkness, under insane pressure, completely cut off from the world. In Lake Vostok, they found evidence of microbes in the ice that freezes onto the bottom of the glacier, the accretion ice, and Lake Willens. It has this diverse community of bacteria and archaea just living there in the water and the sediments. These aren't just like weird microbes, they're practically Earth's blueprint for potential alien life. They show us exactly how life could maybe survive in those dark, icy oceans we think exist on moons like Jupiter's Europa or Saturn's Enceladus. Antarctica is basically our closest lab for astrobiology.
Wow, so hidden worlds. literally beneath kilometers of ice, possibly teeming with life that's adapted to conditions we can barely even imagine. It sounds like something out of, I don't know, a Lost World novel, but right here on Earth.
Exactly. It really does. And the weird wonders, they just keep coming. You've got blood falls. It's this bright crimson 5-story waterfall pouring out of the Taylor Glacier into Lake Bonny. The crazy color. It comes from iron-rich, super salty water that hasn't seen oxygen in maybe millions of years. When it hits the air, the iron oxidizes, basically rusts and turns red. And despite the insane cold temperatures can drop below -89 Celsius, scientists keep finding unique wildlife specifically adapted to survive there. We used to think nothing could live under those massive ice sheets, but nope. We're finding species that defy that assumption. And then, get this, the Ross Ice Shelf sings.
Sings, like actually makes sounds?
Well, yeah, sort of. Winds blowing across the snow dunes on the surface create these vibrations, these seismic tones. They're too low for us to hear directly, but sensitive instruments pick them up. It's this eerie, sort of humming melody. And scientists actually monitor it because the tones change with shifts in the environment, helping them track the ice shelf's stability. It's like the continent itself is humming.
That's incredible. A singing, bleeding, life-filled continent humming with mystery. It feels ancient. Like nature itself is hinting at something, something vast and untouched deep below. Maybe even a lost world or some kind of hidden inhabitant.
It definitely paints a picture of a place full of surprises. Even the sea ice has its own mysteries. There are these things called polynyas. They're these mysterious, sometimes huge, holes that open up in the sea ice, like those seen in the Weddell Sea. Scientists aren't totally sure why they form, but one idea is that marine mammals, like seals or whales, might use them as breathing holes. And speaking of activity, there's Mount Erebus. It's an active volcano on Ross Island, one of the few continuously active volcanoes on Earth, and its activity has actually increased over the last 30 years or so. And then you have the Southern Ocean surrounding the continent. It's absorbed something like 15% of all human carbon emissions. It's a massive climate regulator, but scientists are still working hard to figure out exactly how that process works. Maybe one of the most intriguing recent stories, though, involves this autonomous underwater vehicle, an AUV, called RAN. Back in 2022, an international team sent this 20-foot-long robot sub to explore under the Dotson Ice Shelf in West Antarctica, an area nobody had ever seen before. And the data it sent back was just groundbreaking. It showed incredibly complex melting patterns right at the ice base. It gave us these super high-resolution maps with weird teardrop shapes carved into the ice, icy plateaus, detailed erosion patterns, things our current models of glacier melt just weren't capturing. This data was crucial for understanding sea level rise better. So the team went back in 2024 to see how things had changed, but then RAN just disappeared. Vanished beneath the ice shelf.
Vanished. Just like that.
Gone. The suspicion is it might have run aground on the seabed or maybe got tangled or even possibly targeted by curious seals. We don't know for sure. But it was a huge loss, a major setback for that climate change research. Losing that vehicle and the data it could have gathered, it's frustrating.
Okay, a state-of-the-art submersible just poof, vanishes under the ice. And seals are a suspect. I mean, especially with those strange teardrop features and complex patterns that even our best models can't explain. It does make you wonder, right? Could it have gotten too close to something else?
Well, it's definitely a costly mystery for the scientists, that's for sure. And you're right, the unexplained patterns really highlight how much we don't know about what's happening under there. And yeah, when an expensive piece of high-tech gear disappears without a trace in such a remote, mysterious place, it's totally understandable why people's imaginations start running wild.
All right, so with all this genuine mystery, these hidden lakes, weird life, vanishing subs, it's really no wonder Antarctica has become this absolute hotbed for some truly incredible theories, some pretty far-fetched ones too. Let's get into those. What's the deal with those pyramid-shaped mountains that pop up online every so often?
Right, exactly. The continent's remoteness, the extreme conditions, the fact that so much is still unexplored, it absolutely fuels speculation. But often, science has pretty straightforward explanations. Take those pyramid mountains. Scientists like Eric Rignott, he's a professor of Earth System Science at UC Irvine, they explain these are natural geological formations called pyramidal peaks or horns. They're basically carved out over hundreds of millions of years by freeze-thaw erosion. Water gets into cracks, freezes, expands, breaks off rock, repeat. You see similar peaks elsewhere. The Matterhorn in the Alps is a famous example. It's just geology doing its thing, not ancient aliens or lost civilizations. In these specific Antarctic examples, it looks like three sides of the mountain just happen to erode at roughly the same rate, leaving that distinctive pyramid shape. The fourth side eroded differently, natural processes.
Okay, geology. But what about things like ancient maps? There's the Peary race map from way back in 1513. Some people claim it shows Antarctica without ice. Or those satellite archaeologists who say they found, like, huge human heads or animals, even Sumerian symbols sculpted right into the landscape, visible from space.
Yeah, those ideas definitely capture the imagination, don't they? But historians who specialize in cartography, map history, they generally consider those interpretations of the Peary race map to be, well, bogus, frankly. The map does show a landmass roughly where Antarctica is, but yeah, without ice. It's weird shape. Could just be the map maker didn't want to run off the edge of the parchment or was piecing together different, less accurate sources. As for the giant sculptures seen in satellite images, experts pretty widely dismiss those as pareidolia. Our tendency to see familiar shapes like faces and random patterns combined with digital artifacts in the images themselves. And think about the logistics. Sumerian civilization. They were known for mud bricks in river valleys, not carving colossal stone heads in Antarctic conditions. Just getting ancient people to Antarctica would have been an unbelievable feat, needing ocean-crossing ships and massive supplies, way beyond what we know they were capable of back then.
And then there are the really persistent rumors. Nazi secret bases hidden deep under the ice. Some theories even say Operation High Jump, that huge U.S. Navy mission with Admiral Byrd, wasn't just training. They say it was actually trying to root out these hidden Nazi bases. And maybe they were even repelled by secret weapons or, flying saucers.
Right, the Nazi base theory. It's a classic. But if you actually look at the historical records, including the Germans' own records from their 1938-39 expedition, they mostly just sailed along the coast. They launched a couple of small flying boats for reconnaissance, but those weren't designed for landing on rough ice or carrying building supplies. Very few people actually set foot on the continent, and only for very short periods. There's zero documentation of them bringing materials or building any kind of permanent base. And Operation High Jump in 1946-47. It was a massive military exercise, yes, but the stated goal was cold weather training and testing equipment. It was very public, loads of journalists went along. Their main base, Little America the Five, was on the Ross Ice Shelf, completely the opposite side of Antarctica from where the supposed Nazi base Neuschwabenland was claimed to be. Did ships leave early? Yes, because the Antarctic winter was closing in fast, bringing harsh weather and dangerous sea ice, not because they were attacked by UFOs. And claims about U-boats traveling impossible distances underwater to supply a secret base, they just don't line up with the actual capabilities of submarines at that time.
Okay. But what about the really wild one? Admiral Byrd's supposed secret diary. The one that talks about flying into an opening near the pole, finding a hidden warm area inside the Earth, with a city, glowing disc-shaped aircraft, and even getting a message from some kind of Nordic or Germanic-sounding being. That sounds completely nuts, like 74 degrees Fahrenheit in Antarctica.
Yeah, that one definitely pushes the boundaries into pure science fiction, doesn't it? So Admiral Byrd, absolutely a real famous polar explorer. His official diaries, flight logs, all that stuff, it's archived at Ohio State University. Historians have gone through it meticulously. And guess what? There's absolutely nothing in there about a hollow earth or secret inner worlds, nothing remotely like the secret diary claims. Byrd's own grandson has even commented on it, basically saying, take this with 5 pounds of salt. From a scientific standpoint, the whole hollow earth idea just doesn't work. Basic physics, specifically Newton's shell theorem about gravity, shows it wouldn't function as described. We know the Earth has a solid inner core and a liquid outer core. Now, studies do show there's a surprising amount of water locked within rock layers deep in the Earth's mantle, maybe 3 times the volume of our surface oceans, but it's trapped in minerals, not sloshing around in a giant underground sea.
What about some of the weirder modern things people spot, like people using Google Maps found what looks like a massive rectangular door near Japan's Showa Station. Is that an alien entrance? Bigfoot's winter getaway? Or maybe some kind of secret underground facility hatch?
Yeah, the mystery door. It looks intriguing, for sure. But glaciologists, the ice experts, have looked at images like that. The most likely explanation is it's a natural ice formation. It could be part of an iceberg that's gotten stuck in shallow water and is melting unevenly. Or it could just be a pattern formed by wind erosion in the way the ice flows over underlying rocks or terrain. It looks rectangular to us because our brains love finding patterns. It's just nature's art, basically.
And the Ningen. Those, human-like creatures supposedly seen by Japanese whaling ships down there.
Yeah.
And all the ghost stories you hear from the research stations.
Ah, the Ningen. That's more modern folklore, really. It seems to have emerged from Japanese internet forums, like 2channel, back in the early 2000s. It might have been partly inspired by an older story from 1958, where the crew of a Japanese icebreaker reported seeing something monstrous, sometimes called the Antarctic Godzilla. But again, icebergs can take on incredibly bizarre shapes, especially in foggy or low light conditions. That's a very plausible explanation for sightings of strange forms in the water. And ghost stories. Totally common in isolated, extreme environments like Antarctic research stations. Think about it: long periods of darkness, total isolation, constant danger. There's even a known psychological phenomenon called the third man syndrome, where people in extreme peril, like Shackleton, during his Antarctic ordeal, report feeling the presence of an unseen companion guiding or helping them. It probably says more about the human mind under stress than actual ghosts. So when you strip away the myths and the misunderstandings, what are the true secrets Antarctica is helping us unlock? They might actually be even more profound. They point us beyond Earth. The scientific exploration down there, especially studying those subglacial lakes and the extremophiles, it gives us crucial insights into the kind of conditions that might exist on icy moons in our own solar system. Moons like Jupiter's Europa or Saturn's Enceladus, these are top candidates for finding life beyond Earth, precisely because we think they have vast, liquid water oceans hidden beneath their icy shells. Those oceans could be kept liquid by heat from their cores or from the gravitational pull of their giant planet's tidal forces. So the research in Antarctica, it directly helps astrobiologists figure out, could life actually exist there? What would it look like? How could we detect it? It helps us prepare for future space missions, like the GE mission heading to Jupiter's moons, or potential future missions to sample the plumes spraying out of Enceladus. We're using Antarctica to learn how to search for life light years away.
Wow. So Antarctica isn't just hiding its own secrets, it's actually holding keys to unlocking the mysteries of the entire universe. Maybe even finding life on other worlds. That's incredible. That's where the fascination, the sort of sci-fi vibe, really connects with actual cutting-edge reality, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's exactly it. The true marvels of Antarctica, its unique life, its hidden geology, its role as a window to other worlds are often far more compelling, I think, than even the wildest conspiracy theories. It really is a continent of just immense scientific importance and, frankly, stunning natural wonder.
So what really stands out to you after all this? Maybe the most fascinating thing isn't just what's hidden, but the sheer power of our own curiosity, that drive that pushes us to explore the real, the strange, and the possible, whether it's deep under Antarctic ice or light years away across the cosmos. What amazing new knowledge might we uncover next? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the cool, weird, and possible. If you enjoyed this journey, please do subscribe to our channel, stay informed, stay curious.